Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at DisneyPlus.com. It's time for our weekly live Q&A. So big hello and welcome to everyone joining in live or watching on the replay. So each and every week I do a live Q&A and we have patrons and our YouTube channel members able to submit questions in advance. Also, if you're a YouTube channel member, you can join in on the live chat right now. See, we've got a few people in here already. We've got Film Watcher, Matt, Khalid, Keenan. We've also got Bubba Trolling, so big hello to all of you. You can also use the Superchat function as well to send in your questions, all of which help support the channel. And I really appreciate it with everything going on with the way that Google and stuff is right now. Yeah, your support really does make a huge difference. A big thank you to everyone. Got lots and lots of questions today, but we'll start off obviously with the title one. I've also put up a poll which everyone can join. You don't have to be just a member to join in. Where it says, do you think user-generated content on Disney Plus is a good idea or a bad idea? 67% of you think it's a good idea. 33% of you think it's a bad idea. Let me know what you think. So this is in reference to a report from CNBC that's said that executives were apparently they talk about YouTube almost daily, and one of the things they have been considering is the idea of adding user-generated content. So this one is a good question that just comes up. Film Watcher says, what do you mean by user-generated content? So generally, that would be generated by this is user-generated content, what you're watching right now. So what you'd find on YouTube, things where basically you don't need a production company to be making it. The fans are making it. People are making it at home. And obviously YouTube and TikTok and Facebook, etc., are all kind of really leaning in on that user-generated content. And obviously Disney are looking at going, maybe we could get in on that. Maybe we could put that onto Disney Plus. Maybe that would help improve our engagement. Obviously, they are looking at, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the idea of doing some brainstorming and coming up with some different ideas. That's definitely something I think is not a bad thing. I think they should definitely look into these kind of things. I'm also not opposed to Disney accepting submissions from maybe some big YouTubers or creators that have created something really good, and maybe they can submit it and then Disney can license it, etc. Yeah, so that's kind of it. So let's jump into them. So Babak says, do you think it's a good idea? It seems like it would add more clutter and take focus away from Disney's content. So I think there's an element of this could be good for some content. If you have got high quality content, and I'm going to put and I've used here Mr. Beast as today's thumbnail, which is kind of weird. So I would say if you were to take Mr. Beast content, and if you were to put that up onto YouTube, onto Disney Plus, I think that would be fine. I think that is a high quality evergreen content that is, it's got very fast editing and stuff, but I think that is very well done and very good. And I definitely could see if he submitted it to Disney and they were going to be willing to pay him for it, I think that would be fine. Now, obviously, they cannot, and I cannot stress this enough, they cannot just allow us just to upload what we want, how we want, whenever we want, because that would just cause absolute pandemonium, because Disney needs to protect its image, it needs to protect what it's doing, and you can't just have people randomly being able to upload stuff to Disney Plus. You're going to end up with all kinds of inappropriate content on there, a load of rubbish. It is going to just swamp the system, because let's be honest, Disney's tech is not up to YouTube. YouTube has been doing this for a long, long time. They have got a much more advanced technology, and Disney is nowhere near it. They don't even have an algorithm just to work out how to use Disney Plus for us, let alone start incorporating, our user-generated content. I can see it from the executive's point of view of this is going to be cheap content to make, and how much YouTube, people are watching. But I think also there's an element of, I don't think Disney has a way of making stuff cheap, and because they have they have high quality, but also legal. They have lots of other issues and stuff to go on. If you think about what you watch on YouTube, so let's just say, for me, some of the stuff I like watching. So I like watching Warhammer 40K matches. And there's some really good like play on tabletop. They do a great 40-minute like high quality version of it. I also don't mind watching a little bit of like Magic the Gathering. I also watch videos on some on like movies, some on some video games. I like listening to some podcasts. I watch most of like the WWE actually through YouTube. Watch lots of clips and stuff. Yeah, I use YouTube a lot. I like watching, Caleb Hammer's financial audit. There's a load of stuff on there, which I think but he can get away with it because it is user generated content and it is much cheaper. I don't think it's a good idea. I think adding some content would be good, but at the end of the day, YouTube is so far ahead. I don't think Disney is in a situation to, if they wanted to do this, build something brand new rather than starting with YouTube. Leon says, user-generated content would only work on a level that documents professional and as a business company-oriented, filed, source, and private company directories and documentaries content only. Yeah, I think it has to be high quality. I think of like there's some great Disney content that gets created. So I'm going to call out the Funkland. He does amazing documentaries on things about theme parks. There's an amazing one on how you can watch an hour-long documentary about Fast Pass, but it's great. The problem for me is that the minute that would then go up onto like Disney Plus, are they not going to want that because it criticizes Disney? Are they not going to want that on there? And as the only one thinking about it, the Funkland documentaries, I could say, okay, that is a really high quality documentary. I think in some ways is a much better quality than some of the other stuff they put out. But I think that would be a bit difficult. Keenan says, why would Disney think about using Disney-generated content? It's like YouTube. Well, there's a couple of reasons. First off, cheap. What's cheaper than spending millions of dollars on things like The Acolyte and Agatha All Along and Percy Jackson? Letting us make it for free and then they just pay us a little percentage. That's a lot cheaper. That's why YouTube has been able to do it so well. But also, you look at it the other way, of how other platforms like Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and TikTok are all trying to do the same thing as YouTube, but they can't even get through because people are used to watching YouTube for that kind of content. Short content does seem to work on there. I don't think it would work on there. I just don't think I think also it devalues the branding. I don't think there's a problem. For example, this is a good one. So I was when I was flying earlier this year, last month when we went to Alaska. I was watching. It was like a CEO podcast. One of he does like the Dragon's Den over here in the UK, which is like Shark Tank. And so the podcast was actually available because it's a high quality video through the BA system. So I was able to watch that and it's like that is like a high quality interview. It was like an interview like with Jimmy Carr and stuff. That could, that kind of content could work because it's high quality, it's evergreen, and it could work. I think that kind of things could maybe work a little bit better. So that's it. Let's jump now in to have a look and see what we've got here in the live chat. Keenan says, would you ever consider your podcast to show up on Disney Plus? I mean, on one hand, it would make a lot of sense, if I could submit my podcast, to it, it would be like, well, it would make a lot of sense to have it there, wouldn't it? So I would definitely be inquiring about it, but there are some issues for me. How much would I make from it? That's the first one. Is it going to be worth it financially? Also, do they, how long is the submission process? If I do a news podcast, and it takes 3 weeks to get submitted and get authorized, and it has to go through legal and all the rest of it, they might view like, well, you don't actually get enough views, it's not really worth it, or like that could be an issue of like, oh, you can't say anything bad about The Acolyte, you can't say that, so we don't want that on there. Or what if I then, I'm like, well, I can't say anything bad, so I stop saying, if I don't like something or if I don't agree with something, if I don't say that, just to get it put on Disney Plus, that doesn't feel right for me either. So yeah, I'd be very skeptical of putting it on there of not wanting to have editorial decisions made. I want to have that choice myself. Babatron, it should be Disney Plus, be on YouTube. Yeah, I think the trouble is Disney are definitely leaning in on YouTube and using it for their kids stuff, but I think ultimately they have to be very careful. You want Disney Plus to be careful with its content. I think as most of us can see a lot of issues from it. Candice says, to answer the question, not all user-generated content should be on Disney Plus. Shows like Hot Ones, which already has a presence on Hulu, is something I don't know. Yeah, Hot Ones. That again, we're talking here like very top level quality content could have, I think, a way of being submitted, and I don't think there's a problem with that, and it can go under the Hulu or the Star Hub. I don't think there's a problem with that. I don't think taking the very cream of the top, just kind of, that and that, I think that could work, but I do think you have to be a bit careful with it. Let me just see here. Let's see what we've got. It'd be just like YouTube, and anyone could do it. Yeah, I just don't think it's a good idea. And as Film Watcher says, I don't want to actually pay for user-generated content. I pay for YouTube Premium because I don't want the ads, but and I spend way too much time on YouTube. Right, let's just do a few other questions here. Matt says he likes it for now when he searches for a movie or show, it shows you the TV rating or the movie rating. I think that's a good thing now with the changeover with the Hulu content being added in the US. Kind of gives you an indication, like straight off the bat, if it's maybe suitable or not. Kelly's been away for the family touring the Canadian Rockies. I hope you had a lovely time. I haven't been to the Canadian Rockies for about 18, 19 years. We went to like Banff and Jasper, but it was in the middle of the winter. And having just got back from Canada last month, I had a lovely time in Alaska and Canada. Love it there. It's an amazing. If you've never been, it's an amazing area of the world. Absolutely love it. Right, let's carry on with some questions. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them. Again, you can use the super chat function as well to send them in, or you can become a member and join, or anything like that. I'm looking here at the poll. We're still about 63% of you still think it's a good idea. That's good. Right, here we go. Keenan says, why is Disney making a theatrical sequel to Freaky Friday, even though they already had a DCOM remake? Simple reason is they obviously feel that there's some money to be made. I would say that's the key thing. There's some money to be made by this, and I think that's the key. That's the key thing here. Is it's not going to be a $1 billion movie. Probably not even going to be a 500 million. If it makes 200 million, it'd be really good. This is going to be a cheap movie for them to make, and also if it covers at least the costs of making it and a little bit extra on top, a little bit of extra cheese, then when it does go to streaming, it'll be a bit bigger hit. Babak says, I think Disney should do some hybrid drops where they drop 2 to 3 episodes a week for the few weeks instead of all at once or once a week. We do actually tend to see that hybrid release schedule for most stuff nowadays. What you'll notice they tend to do is they will tend to drop 2 or 3 episodes at the beginning of a show to kind of get you in, get you hooked, get you feeling engaged with a show. You see this a lot now with most shows. They will do that. So it's kind of a halfway house where you get a little bit of a binge mode at the beginning, and then you get the actual you get that weekly drop. I personally think a weekly drop is better than a binge because I think it keeps the story going. It also doesn't. It's like The Bear. I mean, I watched The Bear over 3 days, all 10 episodes, and the trouble is now it's kind of done, and I have a feeling that this show is going to just fizzle from people's minds very, very quickly. I don't know if a weekly release for it would have been any better, but maybe had they done like 3 episodes to begin with, and then like double episode or single episode drops weekly, would have kept the momentum on the show going a little bit longer. Very much like they did all the PR for this week, comes out, does really good, probably do have a good week next week, and then move it on. I'm not convinced that it's the best model. I just saw a good question note here. Keenan says, as far as I know, Netflix is the only streaming service that drops whole seasons in one day. Netflix does it primarily, but they kind of got into that whole thing of they used to drop DVD box sets all at once, and so therefore that was how that worked. they've all done it. They've all played with this idea, all the different streaming services, and I would imagine they've all realized that there are fors and against it. They do seem to Disney does seem to do it a lot more for more the general entertainment side of things. The big expensive show, they just can't afford to drop the Acolyte all at once. That's like a 150-200 million dollar show. You can't just drop that all at once because they need to spread it out to kind of stretch out that content. Matt says, are you ready for Shark Fest? No, because the UK has a really awful system in place with National Geographic where shows go to National Geographic first, to the linear channel, and then Disney Plus gets them sometimes months later. So whereas tomorrow in the US there's going to be a whole host of new documentaries coming in there, I do want to watch the Anthony Mackie one, and there's a few other ones I would like to watch. I'm probably going to have to wait a little bit, and it is annoying. I wish National Geographic went the opposite way around, where it premiered on Disney Plus, and then they put it out on linear like afterwards, and it kind of would get around this law and stuff, whatever rule they've got in place. It just seems such a National Geographic is all over the place. Nothing is like global in terms of releases, and the advertising gets a bit lost. By the time some of this stuff drops onto Disney Plus in the UK, it's going to be 6 to 9 months. I ain't going to have the National Geographic channel. I'm not going to buy Sky just to watch one channel. It's not worth it. But that's my own little thing. I know in the US, you're going to be getting loads of great stuff tomorrow. So I'll be looking forward to watching that. Kelly said, any reason why we haven't heard any major updates on the Disney Warner Brothers streaming bundle? Yeah, Shark Fest is this month. This is in July on National Geographic, Keenan. Shark Week is Discovery's version. Shark Fest is National Geographic's. So it's regarding Kelly's question. So we haven't heard anything. Now, I'm guessing this might be because the bundle might get announced alongside the launch of Venue. That might be the reason for it. At the end of the day, they said summer. They still got July and August left. They still got plenty of time to go on that one. But I think right now they're probably just holding off, like I said, until they got Venue sorted. Mamo says, what do you think of the upcoming NBA deal with Disney? And that includes the digital and international rights. Yeah, so apparently this was reported over the weekend. Nothing's quite signed, but it's expected. Hi, Nox Wave. So the idea really now is that Disney has kind of extended the rights to basketball globally. And I think this is part of their major plan to really turn ESPN into one of the central hubs for Disney Plus globally. Now, in some countries, they're going to have a little bit of difficulty because they've tended to kind of license out and lease out content and also the brand. Like in Canada, the sports network is the version of ESPN. So that might screw things up for Canada. They might not be able to have the ESPN hub. So that might be a problem, but this might get around it. They might be able to turn around and go, yeah, well, we got the digital rights. Who knows how that's going to work? I'd imagine it will probably still go to TSM. I know in Australia, they have been making deals with Fox to have it, but again, it depends if it's exclusive or non-exclusive. Here in the UK, most of the ESPN content has been like sub-licensed out, like the NCAA basketball, I believe, was for this season. They've got next season, they haven't licensed that out. The college football hasn't has been leased out for next year. So there might be some issues of some of the bits and pieces with some content, but I think this is part of their plan to slowly start incorporating more and more sports and getting, I think the digital thing, I think it makes sense of if you can get global rights and you can get digital rights, therefore you can really utilize this much better. It works better with promotions, with advertising. Look what we're seeing also like with WWE and Netflix coming up next year, where in the US they'll just have Raw, but internationally they're going to have the entire WWE network. I can't wait because it'll be good to kind of not have to worry about the WWE network. But yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for them to do it. Keenan says, I don't think they should reboot Pirates of the Caribbean because I don't think anyone as good would be replacing Johnny Depp. I'll be honest, if you can't get Johnny Depp to do it, and I think Jerry Bruckheimer does want him on board, I think ice it for a bit longer. Give it a little bit longer to let it just, if you're going to reboot it, give it another 10 years, and then maybe do, either have something completely different and not have Captain Jack Sparrow, or recast Captain Jack Sparrow. But we need to leave it long enough that we don't remember what it is. I think personally, just bringing Johnny Depp back to do it would make more sense. I think the whole idea of if they want to make a female-centric show or movie, I think right now I would just advise them. I would be like, look, you can see what's happening online with every time you do this. It's not working. Audiences aren't responding very well to this kind of stuff. Just ice it for a bit. Just hold off. Either do it with Johnny Depp or don't do it at all right now, and just leave this idea for later. If you want to do a Pirates movie, do something completely different. Don't call it Pirates of the Caribbean, and it'll probably be able to float through, but it won't have that same recognition and same franchise thing. I just think in some ways the audience right now is very much split and all over the place, and I just don't think it's the right time to do this stuff. They are, there's so many of these films and shows which are just not working on that level. And I think this show, a Pirates of the Caribbean film, would just fall straight into that. Matt says, do you think we'll get an FX and 20th Century Hub? I would like to see it. I would love to for Star Hub. Even if you went into the Star Hub and you had what you guys have got in the US, where you've got extra hubs within that hub, because we don't have that. It would be nice if we had that at least in the Star Hub, so you could kind of get in there. I have a feeling, to be honest, I think they might be more centric on just trying to focus on that Hulu/Star Hub to begin with. Connor says, could you see ESPN acquiring broadcasters like DAZN, Eurosport, and beIN Sports to expand their global footprint? I don't think they will do that. I think what they're more likely going to do is just pick up sports rights for stuff. I don't think they necessarily need the networks, because they can do that themselves. They've got the technology there. Obviously, we're seeing it running right now in Latin America this week with the launch of the ESPN Hub there. They just need the sports rights. They've got the technology. They've got everything they need. I don't think they necessarily need the zone. The zone does have, I think, the international rights to the NFL for a couple more, for at least another 7 or 8 years. There's also, I think, a problem. I mean, it might be interesting to see what happens if Disney's ESPN takes over the NFL network. That might be another way of getting in there. Bubbuck says, why did Disney binge drop The Bear? This is such a good series. They could have had it weekly. I think it's probably more the fact that the last 2 seasons did the same thing. And also, these kind of shows, adults will watch very differently. Mamo says, when do you think the full ESPN streaming services will launch in 2025? Will it be discounted for Disney Plus members? If yes, how much do you think will be the difference in price between the bundle and the standalone service? So the question is going to be is whether or not they do an ESPN app completely separate, or if they just only launch it within Disney Plus, and that's the only way you can do it. I wouldn't be surprised if they did a bundle with it. They're basically going to probably throw you the ad tier of Disney Plus there for a few bucks, and you're probably not really going to notice the price of it. So I don't necessarily know if there'll be a discount. I think it will just be a probably price just to get you going. Whether or not that's double what the current ESPN Plus is, I think ESPN Plus will be rebranded to just ESPN on Disney Plus, and that'll be like $14.99 or $19.99, something along those lines, to kind of get you in and get you hooked. That's my guess on that one. Leah says, do you have any screen capture of ESPN Hub in Latin America, what it looks like? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I've been trying, but I haven't been able to get hold of it. Mamo says, would the upcoming ESPN Hub look like the ESPN Hub in Latin America? I'd imagine it's going to look very similar. I imagine that's the test ground where they're going to test stuff. We've seen how the Hulu Hub looks very similar to the Star Hub, so I imagine it's going to be very, very similar to that one. Matt also says, I hear they're making a Hocus Pocus free. Yeah, there's kind of words rolling around for this, and they're in talks and they've been working on it for a while. No word yet officially. Maybe they announce it at D23. Maybe they hold off. All right, so that's all of our pre-done questions. So if you've got any live questions, feel free to send them in. You can use the super chat function as well or anything like that. I'm just going to go through the live chat, see if I've missed anything, and then just start going through your questions. So feel free to keep popping them in. Let's see what we've got here. Yeah, so Bubba Trolling says, do you think the ESPN Hub will look the same? Yes, I think it's going to look very, very similar. I think it's going to be very, very similar. Knoxwave says, have you heard that Inside Out has earned $1 billion and this is the first Pixar film to have earned $1 billion since Toy Story 4? Yes, apparently it's just broken over it today. This is a huge, huge win. Me and my wife, we went out with a friend and we went to see it yesterday afternoon. Really enjoyed it. So I have seen it now. So I'm one of the ones that added to the book. So I bought free tickets this weekend. So I put my $20 to the box office numbers this weekend as well. This is such a huge win for Pixar and Disney right now. This is, I think, on so many levels, a huge relief for them. It is an indication that what they are doing right now seems to be working. Established franchise that is safe for families. There is nothing there. There's no controversy. There's been nothing with Inside Out 2, which I've seen anything getting any negative publicity. It has all just been good. The box office numbers indicate as well that this is a good movie, so people want to go see it, and more people want to go see it. You've also got like Pixar just being back on top again. They've had a really rough few years, and this just shows that they can be back on top form. This is a huge win for Disney. They a big billion. They got the biggest movie of the year right now, and that's the only one to think about. So you pushed Inside Out 2 over the billion. Yes, my £15 was the reason why that one. If I hadn't have gone, it wouldn't have made it this weekend. It would have been another weekend before I would have done it. So yes, I'm going to take full credit for helping Inside Out 2 going over the billion this weekend. It's kind of like that. So this is a huge hit. This is going to help with the idea that Disney is, Disney's down, Disney's out, Disney's failing, Disney's, all that kind of negativity that has just been churning around after flop after flop after flop. And that's bad. This is a much needed win. It is going to help with morale at the company. It's going to indicate to them that what they have been doing for the last 6 months to a year has been helping. The theatrical, being very clear about the theatrical run, how long it's going to be. Just promoting this, not pushing Disney Plus side of things for it. This is a huge moral and success. There are so many levels why this is so big, so big for Disney and Pixar. They really needed this win. And I think with Deadpool and Wolverine coming out next month, I think this is going to be like a 1-2 punch. I mean, I do think Despicable Me is going to do really well. I'm not sure it's going to beat Inside Out. I think Despicable Me isn't going to have the same mass amount of people going because of that whole Minions kit, where everyone going to school or everyone going to the cinema in their uniforms and in their suits and stuff. I think it's going to do very well, but I think Inside Out 2 is just going to be I think that one's going to be the one to beat this year. I do wonder if it's anything's going to beat it. Keenan says it would have been the same Moana when they announced a sequel, but they're not getting a live action remake later, which is good. It would have been the same. I think with Moana's a bit of a weird one because I think there's so many people have seen the movie because it's been this juggernaut on Disney Plus. I'm not sure if Moana 2 is going to hit $1 billion. I'm still a little bit doubtful of whether or not that will happen. I think the whole idea that, obviously there's a little bit of negativity around the fact that it was a series that got turned into a movie, and that might put a question in people's minds of how good it is. But if the kids like it, if the families like it, and they feel, and I think it's going to be very, very friendly and all the rest of it, I think I could easily see it 700-800. I think it's going to take more than the first one, but also the branding of Moana is so much bigger than it was the first time round. So many people now know, a bit like with Inside Out, so many more people know what it is. You know, it's going to be a big thing. Knoxwave says, have you heard that Captain America Brave New World budget is around $400 million because so many reshoots and since the strikes? Yes, there's been a lot of reports, and I would say take a lot of this with a pinch of salt. I would say don't believe everything you read on the internet or hear on the internet. There obviously it is costing a lot, but we don't really know exactly what that budget is. We also don't necessarily know what their tax credit and tax benefits are. That can bring it down by a lot. Now, it could be really high. And there is something I did think about this, of whether or not the budget might be really big. But then the thing is, if the movie is really good and it does take more money, then that might help offset it. But also, this is the other thing. If the movie is really good, it will help reestablish the MCU moving forward so that the next movies afterwards will also do better. Almost like this one might take a little bit of a dip in the box office, but if it helps all the next 5-10 movies do better because they've established that it's good. You know, if they've taken this movie back and stripped it down and made it so much better, it could end up being fine. The budget does seem, it might be way above where it needs to be. And, you know, there is going to be some problems with Brave New World. It's going to hit, you know, there's going to be all the grifters and the negativity around this movie a lot. But if it is good, that will counteract a lot of that word of mouth, because if people realize it's good and it's really, and that's the key thing. And those reshoots should hopefully mean that it is better. And I think that's the key thing. Billy says, do you think the reason why there's no trailer, at least an indication about they're going to drop the trailer for Snow White, is it because they're afraid of public opinion? Well, the simple truth is they only just wrapped the reshoots on the film this week. So the film isn't finished. They've just literally just wrapped up all the reshoots. They're going to have to do all the editing. It is not ready yet. It's not finished. So I would very much expect us at D23 that we get a teaser trailer for it. The thing is with this teaser trailer is, if the teaser trailer shows us what we all want to see in terms of it being the Seven Dwarfs, and she is Snow White, and there's the Evil Queen, and it plays on the fact that it feels like the original movie, this could turn it around. If the teaser trailer has to be amazing, but also it's going to have to lean in on the fact that it is a new version of the story, but also I think it has to be close to the original. I think the negativity that came out about this film when all of the pictures came out of the set images of these magical bandits replacing the dwarfs, and obviously Rachel's comments online, some of which were being taken out of context. So they were clipped obviously from a bigger interview. They know that they've got to have a hard job selling this to the general public. This movie has already got some big issues with it. I have said in the past that had they not done reshoots, I would have been like, do we actually continue with this project? Or is it, unless it is amazing, it has to be really, really, really good in order to quit those people that have, the bad publicity. A great movie and a great story, if they do all of that, it can overcome it. It's just going to have a much bigger hill to climb. But, if they get a good trailer out there and we see the CGI dwarfs and it feels like Snow White, that will help it. At the minute, we have one image and we have a load of behind-the-scene footage that everyone took out of context. So I'd rather if that trailer is not ready, teaser trailer is not ready for D23. They showed us a very small amount of it at D23 2 years ago, but that is the time to drop your teaser trailer and you just tease the dwarfs and you tease that it feels like the original, because that's what we want. We don't. I think the simple truth, they want to, if they want to modernize it and make it different, this is the wrong way to do it, because this is a Disney remake of an animated movie. Like the Huntsman and all the snow, they were able to get away with it. Disney can't do that same thing. Okay, so when I was in Alberta, Canada, I briefly used the Disney Plus app and didn't watch anything. The Star Hub showed up for me in Hulu. I would say that Hulu is way better since Star is a mess. Yeah, that's the thing. You go outside of the US, you will then get the Star Hub. And you can see then of how... The thing is, obviously, the Star Hub has a lot less than Hulu because it doesn't have as much licensed content. But it's definitely a bit like messy in there because there's a lot less organization in terms of how you get around. So they do need to do a lot more work on cleaning up the interface, cleaning up the front, making the algorithm better, definitely. Keenan says, between Toy Story 4 and Inside Out 2, Pixar films bombed. Well, I think the trouble is, we did have this thing called the pandemic. And so we do have to say, you know, Onward literally was only out in cinemas in the US for a week before everything shut. So that box office was kneecapped. It was never able to gather people to go because it literally came out when we were all being told to go home. And so that one didn't do very well. Obviously, Luca and Soul and Turning Red didn't go to cinemas until like recently, and that was not really much to it. You know, Lightyear bombed. Lightyear suffered from multiple issues. The story wasn't good enough. The messaging of what the movie was about, people were confused. There was a lot of negativity and overblown things because, you know, the fact that, you know, Buzz Lightyear, you know, she had a wife, and that was enough to set that one over the edge, everyone at the time. And also, people just were not going back to the cinema in the same light back when that one came out. Elemental was not a bomb. That one did pull in over 500 million, and it is not the lowest box office movie. You know, the other ones have done worse. Elemental was it was an amazingly hit, but Elemental still was, I wouldn't call Elemental was not a bomb. So we only really had Lightyear and Onward were the two like iffy things. Kelly said, I can't believe so many people wrote obituaries of Disney last week because it was a rough year for them. Disney has gone up and up through up and down in cycles. Well, I think there is definitely the thing of Disney goes through cycles. All companies do, all businesses, all things do. There are times when they're hot, when they're not, when they're firing all cylinders, and then they're coasting, and then they're kind of going down. Disney made a lot of mistakes. No point in sugarcoating it. They have, you know, they took their eye off the ball. They got, I think, complacent. They got, there was obviously the changeover in what they were doing. And I think in general, the world as a whole was going through stages of like, you know, how certain messages and stuff were being pushed, and, you know, the audience has pushed back a bit. You know, and I don't think we're going to go all the way back, but I think there is that thing of they've had to listen to audiences, and they have to listen to audiences around the world. It's not just on one side. They have to try and appeal to everyone, and you need a bit of both. You know, no point pissing off half your user base. You want to try and stay in the middle. And ideally, you're going to piss people off on either side a little bit, but a business really doesn't want to piss off anybody. You know, they just want to take your money. So I do think that is a problem. So that's one issue. And I also think there is a massive other big problem of social media, clickbait, engagement baits, YouTube like algorithms and stuff all feed on negativity. And they all feed on this hate, rage, bait, all this kind of stuff. It's just kind of it gets more people are much more interested. If I put up two thumbnails and one's negative and one's positive, the negative one will get more hits. And I'm going to be honest, I have been doing it sometimes where I do look at it and go, I'm going to go with a negative story because I need some more views. I need people to watch this. I need people to click on the article. You know, I need to pay rent. And I don't do it constantly, but there are times when you do kind of go, you know, can you sensationalize it? I don't like, there's some clickbait and stuff. I'm just like, nope. There's one's really annoying me. Like, there was one I read yesterday was, Disney favorite show gets cancelled. and it was the D'Amelio show, and you're like, well, you could have said D'Amelio show has been cancelled, but of course they want you to click on it. Obviously, well, there is a huge amount of people creating stuff. There are channels out there that are churning out multiple videos a day about how bad everything always is. They hate watching The Acolyte. Like, they sit there on a Tuesday evening, like literally just like waiting for something, that they can moan about. And it's got an audience, and there's people that like it, and there's people that feed into it. And the more you watch it, the more the YouTube algorithm and social media algorithms will feed into that. It's kind of, I think, the thing with The Acolyte this week. It was a good episode, and there's a lot of positivity about the show. And it was like people start going, "Oh, you can't." It was like it was harder to complain about this week because it was good. And I think Inside Out is that kind of prime thing, and Disney are going to be they should hopefully be stopped stepping on these rakes and getting smashed in the face by making smarter decisions. But yeah, I do think they have gone through cycles before. They have gone down, they have come down, but also as well, you've also got an audience that have got used to only going one way. The Marvel Cinematic Universe was going amazing. Disney, Star Wars, everything was going up. And we had a bump. And suddenly then it's like, there was big problems. At the theme parks are getting busier and busier, and they were taking more and more money. And then the pandemic happened. They cut a load of stuff back, trimmed it too far. They made some decisions that they thought they could get away with, and they did for a little bit, but audiences, people started bulking at some of the options. So they're starting to bring stuff back. All the changes to Multipass, or not Multipass, Lightning Lanes and Genie Plus, and benefits for staying on. All this stuff all feeds into the fact that they got cocky, they got complacent, and they took their eyes off the ball, and they started focusing on money. And the audience eventually went, "Nope, you pushed us too far," and then they're having to readjust. And every business will kind of, a lot of businesses during the pandemic had to make changes. I do think it's very interesting that sometimes Disney gets put on a pedestal gets, everyone's throwing. And also, I think there's a lot of stuff happening with, again, social media of hitting Disney is become a popular trend. Universal can seem to get away with doing even worse stuff than Disney, but they don't get the same abuse. And I think there is a little bit of it. Disney charged for Fast Pass, and they're like, that's you can't do that. Universal charge you 10 times more. Well, that's fine. They've always done that. We don't worry about them. So yeah, just two-sided, but that's a whole other issue. Next wave says, I hope we get a trailer for Agatha All Along during San Diego Comic-Con, or maybe Daredevil Born Again and Ironheart. Been hearing, I did see some stuff online that maybe San Diego's Comic-Con presentation might be more about the movies, and D23 might be more about the Disney Plus shows. That could be it. But I would expect an Agatha trailer. I actually think we might see a teaser trailer. When does the Acolyte? We've got 3 more weeks left. That would be around San Diego. Maybe San Diego for Agatha, because they'll want to kind of get subscribers getting ready for that next show. Maybe we might even see it before Acolyte finishes. Keenan said summer is usually a great time for cinema because school is out for the children. Well, I mean, here in the UK, the kids' holidays don't start for about another 3 weeks. But it's kind of funny when I've been looking back each day at what movies get released every day. It's amazing how many in the last 2 weeks of how many movies Disney's released, because you get your movie out in June, and then you've got the whole of the summer then to get extra money in, and kids are off and the families are off. It's a great time. It's why this summer blockbuster season is so popular, is because people want to go to the cinema with the kids. And it's like here, when it's sunny, you don't tend to go to the cinema, but if it gets drizzly or wet, that's the best thing to do. I actually think in America it went the opposite, because Inside Out did really well because there was that heat wave. Katie says we shouldn't expect all Disney films to hit $1 billion. It's just good enough to maintain culturally relevant for years to come. I think the problem as well was Disney were hitting $1 billion to the point where they made it look easy, and if it didn't hit $1 billion, it was a flop. And I think we're at a point where we're having to adjust expectations. The $1 billion movie might be 1 or 2 a year. They are outliners rather than everything. Avengers Endgame and Lion King both made billions. Only Endgame received cultural relevance, even though the 2019 version doesn't have it. I don't think the remake is gonna. I don't think the new one will hit $1 billion. I don't think that would do that. Bobatronic says, "Do you think Disney will renew UFC in January?" I would like to think so. I mean, I don't know whether or not UFC might follow what WWE does with the premium live events and do it that way around rather than the way they currently do it to try and build the audience. Alternatively, they could then, if Netflix comes in, maybe they come in. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if UFC did it. I mean, I'd love them to do a global deal, and then they can get it onto Disney Plus, because I love to, if I could watch UFC on Disney Plus, that'd be great. If the Lion King remake makes $1 billion, then the prequel should do the same. Yeah, see, that is exactly what we just said there. You've automatically set this up that the sequel will make more money. And this is the problem. I don't think it's going to make the same amount of money. I don't think it's going to get anywhere near that one. He said, I noticed when it's returned, the name is Can, is streaming on the Hulu on Disney Plus. It was Arcade's best performance. Still irritated that he didn't get an Oscar nomination. Didn't realize it was on there. Is there any more Hotstar content on there, or is it just very, very limited? I've not been looking. Avatar 2 needs to hit $2 billion to be a hit, which it did. Yeah, but I think Avatar is in a very different territory. Barbatronic says, do you think Disney Plus will let people buy pay-per-views for Disney Plus without a password on TVs? There is, in the terms and condition, there is words about Premium Pass and ESPN. So they've done it. They could do that. I think it's more so for live events. Though I do think it's like tonight, there's an AEW pay-per-view on. Never going to pay for it. I'm not. It's like that. No way. I'm not going to pay. The days of paying for pay-per-views, I don't do that anymore. WWE have they've been doing premium live events for long enough now where it's like, I'm not paying for that. Disney did have it was Premier Access. They did that one. Right. Any last minute questions before we finish for the day? So I'll put this one out there. Right. So plan for this week. Obviously Monday through Friday, we'll have new episodes of the What's on Disney Plus podcast. So that'll be going out each and every day with some of the top news stories of the day, plus also any reviews of anything new that comes out, plus also questions. So if you've got a question, make sure you pop it in the comments from the previous day's one. That's generally where I'll go into the last of the weekly videos. Look at questions. If you are a YouTube channel member, pop them in there as well. You don't have to wait till the weekend. Don't necessarily mean they automatically get done, but that's generally, if yours will come up higher on the list. But if you've got a great question, that's definitely it. So that's a thing. And yeah, just make sure you check out what's on DisneyPlus.com. Bookmark it, favorite it. Make sure you follow us on social media. Join the newsletter. Just go to the website. That's the key thing. Just please keep going to the website. Knoxwave says, what did you think of The Bear Season 3? So I have finished all of it. I did enjoy it. I don't think it was as good as previous seasons. There was a little bit too much flashbacks for my taking. It seemed to take a long time to go nowhere. I feel like we finished season 3, and I'm like, we got nowhere. The story just hadn't really moved along. Carney hadn't got back with his girlfriend. He was just aiming and ahhing over it. The restaurant opened and they kind of, they struggled. I can't think of what EO's name is, but she has been aiming and ahhing about whether or not to stay or not. The story just didn't move. There was a lot, we had a whole episode with the baby, and the whole, it was all just, and then we had another one with the chef. It was very slow, and it didn't get anywhere. I feel like I said, season 3 started and season 3 ended, and nothing in the middle actually happened. Is that right? I don't know. If you've been watching, let me know. But I was a little bit, I wasn't disappointed, but it wasn't as good as the previous season. Filmwatch said Premier Access was a bad idea. Glad they dropped it. I didn't have a problem with them doing it. I think there's this kind of weird thing of people don't like the idea of Premium Access. I mean, it's like if you put it out on Premium Access the same time it's out on iTunes and stuff, I don't see a major problem with that as an alternative option. I think it just confused audiences and kind of got around it. I do think that, you know, releasing movies on streaming and on digital too quickly is undermining the box office, and it is causing problems. I think I just saw earlier today the Bike Riders is coming out on digital like in 2 weeks' time, and that's like what, like it only got released last week. It does seem a little bit like yeah. It's like, what? Why already? Like, at least give a little bit of time. Obviously, they want to get some money and stuff. And there is a load of people that don't like going to cinemas and you want to get it on there. But I don't know. I think if undercutting theatrical has caused problems. And not only that, I think undercutting theatrical is going to cause us big problems with big budget movies not being around. Some major issues. Thank you very much for Future Forwarding for becoming a YouTube channel member. Thank you for your support. Keenan says Premier Access was for theatrical releases at home. I only did it for Cruella. I did it for Cruella. I did it for Black Widow. I did it for Jungle Cruise. Actually, did I do it for Jungle Cruise? Did they send me a screener? I would have done it anyway. I'll be honest. Had they done Inside Out, I would have done it for that one. I don't know if I would have done it for like Kinds of Kindness. Or probably, but I it's like I do see the advantages of it. The other problem as well is you put it out on Premier Access or out too early. You then make digital versions of it, like piracy, much easier because they then can get access to a full 4K rip very, very quickly. So it does make piracy a lot easier. Barbatron says, do you think The Bear will get cancelled? I don't think it's going to get cancelled. I think it's going to come to an end at the end of season 4. The guys that are in it are they're all hot property. They're all moving on to bigger, better things. I don't think Disney are going to be able to afford them for the Bear. I think The Bear will end at season 4. They were going to film the 2 back to back, but they couldn't do that because the scripts weren't ready. But yeah, I think The Bear will end at season 4. Kaylee says, I'm glad Disney remains committed to the 100 theatrical days for Inter. Yeah, I mean, they were very clear about that, and I think that's helped. I think that's definitely helped. Knox Waver said they remember doing Shang-Chi, Eternals, and Encanto as Premier Access, but they stick as theatrical films. Well, they actually... Shang-Chi was... I don't think they did it for any of them. Encanto went to Disney Plus after 30 days for like Christmas. Eternals and Shang-Chi, I think, was like 45 days. But at the time, remember, we were in a weird zone right now then. And, you know, they were putting things out quicker because they needed Disney Plus to have subscribers and feed the platform. It was a different era. And I think sometimes we've kind of got to look back at that as they were just throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what worked and what didn't. And I think that's definitely something that they did. And after Jungle Cruise, they banned it. Yeah, it was only a few movies. I thought it was a good idea at the time. I don't think it's a good idea overall. I think putting things in cinemas. I think what I'm worried about from the point of view of movies going just digital too quickly was if they don't make the money, they're not going to spend them. Then we're not going to get these big epic blockbusters of like huge scale. Because they're just going to pull back on the budgets and they're going to get smaller. That might not be a bad thing. Some movies probably could do with it, but that's definitely an issue. Right. Okay. So on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. That's the end of this week's stream. So a big thank you to everyone, including Matt. We got Film Watcher, you got Khaled, Keenan, Barbara Trolling, Film Watcher, Tinkerbell. We got in here Knox Wave, Billy C. Thank you so much. And yeah, big thank you to everyone for watching. And I will be back next Sunday with another live Q&A. But obviously, check out the news episodes throughout the week. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. And I shall see you guys soon. Laters.